Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live from Ice Station. I don't mean that, do I? No. Welcome from the sweaty nutsack of America, also known as South Texas. And this is Pwnery's Week in Review. We're going to cover a couple of topics today, and we're going to talk about the news, and we're going to talk about our weeks in review and our future plans for the weekend, as usual. And if you're wondering where this really wicked soundtrack came from, it's from a DJ named Scott Allen, and he actually remixed this with Smokey Robinson's Sonny, which is awesome. So anyway, I've got a few panelists here, so say good morning everybody to Scott and Tony. Tony, which I think went to go pinch one off, but we'll see if he's here in time or not.
Yeah, he's old. He gets an excuse.
Oh, well, he's not fitted for a walker yet. So anyway, every morning for this, I try to get up 2 hours before we go on. Show prep is the day before. I try to get everything arranged nice and neat. I write like the cue card for all the topics or the news stories that I'd like to cover. And I have a confession to make because I didn't realize that I'm emulating another show. And I thought I was the first one to do it. And I was going to make this snippy intro about it. But I looked it up, cooler heads prevailed. And yeah, I wasn't first to do this. And it's somebody we all know. I'm not going to say, but it's somebody we all know. And I thought, damn, okay, so they did it first. So the only thing I can say is this show is a case of imitation is the finest form of flattery. So that's it. I didn't realize that somebody else does this, but we're going to do it too because we're a different panel. Whereas I think they fly it solo. But anyway, like I was saying, I try to get up 2 hours before the show, and I do the layout for all the show prep I did the day before, which requires me to open multiple tabs of a different kind of browser. I use Opera for this, just because the layout's clean when I do the screen shares. And what's kind of irritating is I've done this with multiple browsers now, and it's always the same. I have to pull each story into its own window of the application. I can't just run tabs, which this feels like I'm staring at Windows 95 if you could see my screen. It's ridiculous. But I do that. So I got the 5 stories. Last week I think it was 6 just because I had an extra, like an and one. I have an and one browser window for one of the stories today because I could not unsee this. And I had also discovered who the woman in the photo is for G-Webs' videos because I didn't know who it was. Like, I didn't really pay attention. I just noticed that, like, day after day or week after week, I would keep seeing this woman's face on my YouTube feed from gun websites. And I was like, who is this woman? I'm like, I know you can be smitten and they'll be the center of your life for a couple of days. And I thought maybe that's what it was. But then I realized it was the chick from Everytown for gun safety. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So one of the stories today is actually about her and what she reminds me of. Because as soon as I saw her face, something popped in my head. I'm like, why can I not unsee this? So I'll be sharing that with you today. That was part of the show prep. Maybe one day I will do a making of the week in review. Right now we're only 11 weeks in, so like nobody cares. But eventually I'll probably share like how many screens it takes to actually do this. And just to give you like a basic understanding of computing power, I guess. I'm not sure what the minimum would be to get all this running smoothly, but I'm running 36 browser windows right now. I've got the onboard sound like mixer table thing for the opening and closing music. I've got the cue cards. I've got OBS. I've got YouTube. I've got my Discord up. Like everything's running all at once. And it's not even making my machine run at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. You can keep metric. That's that's somebody else's business. I grew up in Fahrenheit. So there's that. And my liquid cooler is not even trying to like struggle. Like this is easy for it. Anyway, the system I'm running this on is a ninth generation Intel i9. It's running on 64 gigs of RAM and 4 solid-state drives. Just so like lag is not an option. And then my internet connection to beam this up is actually through it's through Comcast in my area because they actually do provide the most stable connection in Southeast Texas for me. And because of the speed I wanted, they had to actually sell me a commercial line. I'm like, whatever, fine. So, commercial line for the upload speed. Download speed's like, I could probably redirect a satellite. But you don't have to do that for what I'm doing for broadcast. Like, you can do this on a basic cable internet connection, probably like a 6 megabit connection. You could probably do this without any lag. I've noticed, like for instance, later today there's going to be a show. Now, strangely enough, this is going to come off as a plug. Later today, Rick's Life as I See It has a show, and he runs it on, I believe, 1.5 or a 3 megabit DSL connection because he's actually just outside of the range of his box, which is a bit of a problem for him because if you ever watch his show, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like the GunTube stream will break down the video to a lower resolution every now and then to keep up with his bandwidth input, which I don't think is a problem for us because every playback I've watched so far of this show seems to be fine. Even though OBS is like shit in the bed and showing me yellow and red lights every once in a while, because I share this connection with 2 other people in the house, and both of them stream all day long, which drives me insane. I get the you're about to use up all your bandwidth thing 3 days into the month because of them. So I paid extra to get unlimited now. It's like $11 extra. If you didn't know that, if you guys have Comcast and you hit your bandwidth cap, I think either this month or next month, they're going to start charging you overages. They had a grace period, but it's over now. So what they've been doing is they've promoted this unlimited bandwidth for an extra $11 a month on your bill. It's a tax, let's be honest, because once upon a time when all these services were new, there was no such thing as a limit. There was no data limit. You just had DSL and you did whatever you want, or you just had cable and did whatever you want. Or if you're as old as I am, you had ISDN and had as much as you want because there wasn't limits. Same thing with cell phones. And all of a sudden it was like, no, bandwidth costs money. We're going to charge you extra. And it's just like, kiss my ass. So anyway, I got up 90 minutes before the show. By the time I had all my dogs situated, breakfast sorted out, which I'm still chewing on, and you can probably hear it. Sorry. I had 5 minutes to get everything ready. So sorry for being 2 minutes late. Anyway, Tony, are you here?
I am.
Okay, so now that everyone's here, let's start with personal weeks in review. And since I can't shut up, I'll let you two start. Just jump in, whichever one of you want to start.
Well, we went on hiatus from the early watch for about 2 weeks to a month, starting last Monday. And as far as personal for me, it's just been fucking rainy here. So, I really need to mow my damn yard.
So I know this sounds weird coming from me, but just in the likeliness that somebody watching, because I shotgun out the show 30 minutes before we start to a bunch of communities on Facebook now. Explain to them what the early watch is, like when it starts, what it's about, things like that, just in case they've never heard of it.
The early watch is God, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a certainly not safe for kids or work show unless you have some really out there friends at work. Normally on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, starting at around 9 a.m. Central. Unlike Sean, who seems to strive to be on time, we don't. Uh, and I can't reiterate enough how it's not safe for work.
Which is exactly why I listen to it the minute I get to work. 'Cause-
Uh,
well, it's great because half the people at my work don't speak English. They only understand Mandarin. That works out great.
I don't think there's anything that we've found that's off the table for talking about. I really don't. Maybe there's some things I wish were off the table, but they're not. So, hopefully he gets done with what he's doing in 2 or 3 weeks and we're back. Until then, if you've not seen it, please go to Early Watch on YouTube. Watch probably the last 2 months of videos.
Yeah, they've they've definitely gotten better over time. I mean, it's like doing this is like I always told people when we were on gun channels that I won't do a live show. I'm like, I'm not going to do it because there's so many of them out there. And the thing that used to drive me crazy is you would start a show and you would have a panel. Like, let's go back to Google Hangouts days, okay? So that's what, 3 years ago? You'd start a show on Google Hangouts. You could have a maximum of 10 panelists. You and 9 panelists, I think it was. And my first entry into that was through Never Enough Ammo's chats. And in the beginning, it was fine because there was only like 4, maybe 5 panelists. Like, he kept it small. But as his audience grew, his panel grew. Because he's very good at introducing new people to the community. Like, he was my entry point for doing shows. Uh, I want to say Hickok 45 was probably my entry point to just YouTube gun videos in general. Like, most people today, if you ask them, how did you find gun channels, gun content on YouTube, they're either going to tell you Hickok 45, the Yankee Marshal, or maybe they would go back as far as, oh shit, who was the fake Russian?
FPS Russia.
FPS Russia, exactly. Or maybe Demolition Ranch. Like, those are the 4 big names you would hear constantly. Connoisseurs of firearms might even go as far as to say something like, oh, man, sorry, my memory's really crap today. Grantham.
Ian?
No,
Oh.
well, yeah, maybe see an Arsenal or Ian or like Grantham, because I didn't really start watching Grantham until about maybe a year or 2 ago. And God, I've got to admit, that guy is like the Christian Bale of gun creators, isn't he? Like, every time he talks, he squints a certain way and he like enunciates words a certain way, and he just reminds me of Christian Bale's asshole version of Bruce Wayne. And like, I gravitate towards that because I do it too. Like, I don't have a filter, and that guy absolutely doesn't have a filter. So like, some people will say that's their entry to the whole thing, but I didn't want to do shows just because it ended up being 10 panelists. And it sounded like Baroque classic music. It was like 10 different melodies and pitches and tunes all playing at the same time. Like the saying goes, too many cooks in the kitchen. And, you'd have these shows where it was 45 minutes of 10 people doing their intros. And then it was like 15 minutes of content, 25 minutes of banter, and then another 45 minutes of outros, and the show was over. And I'm like, I can't do that. That'll drive people crazy. So we got it down to like 3, sometimes 4. I think the most we've ever had in one time was 6. And that's fine with me. Like, I like it. If this grows to a point where it's as big as like NEA's kind of broadcast, then what I'll probably do is I'll just limit it to how many people can be in as hosts at the time, just to keep it so everyone can get their word in, because Right now, because it's small, I don't shut up just because I don't like dead air. But if we have like 6 people, I can kick back and relax and just let y'all run free for a bit. That'd be great for me too.
You know, honestly, in the early days of the early watch, we had anybody was welcome to come in, and you just absolutely lose control of what you want to do when you do that.
Yeah, yeah,
So when we restarted, it was a conscious decision that it was only going to be me and Jimmy in there.
right. You kept it back like to its roots, which is what made it work in the first place. Everyone wanted to jump on that train after it started to work, which is fine. It's just they have to stay there as audience, or you have to like. I've said this before. Um, your show could work if you offer in one guest at a time every once in a while. But if you had like 10 all in at once, yeah, you just couldn't get anything done. You would tangent off repeatedly, and then you'd forget why you even started the episode in the first place, for sure.
Unless it was somebody of note, like Saad Ayub or something, we can have guests. I don't think. At least I'm opposed to it, and I think Jimmy is too.
Well, you'd have to find somebody who would be able to take your filterless
Right.
output. So the only persons I could think of that you could have on your show would be Dana White, Bill Burr, Lewis Black, maybe Larry the Cable Guy. Even he would feel uncomfortable though with
Dennis
I
Leary.
Dennis Leary for sure. But you know what the funny thing is? They're all comedians that are edgy, aren't they?
Ron White.
I would have fun with Bill Burr.
I think everybody could. Like that guy's like the Joker. Like he fits. He's in a. You can put him in any audience and it'll work for somebody, or it'll offend everybody. I don't know. Like he does both.
I think he's kind of anti, so
Well, if I was
that
gonna
would
do
make
special guests on
it.
this show, it's gonna be pretty simple. It's gonna be Gina Carano and Kate Beckinsale, and it's just gonna be me telling them, "Just drop what you're doing and marry me now." So that's why I don't have special guests because I
If I
would
could get
just try to
Kate,
sleep with them all the time.
if I could get Kate Beckinsale to come on the early watch, our format would change at least for that day.
Yeah, yeah, because if like her agent was like, yeah, she'll do your show, and I'll be like, okay, I only have one request. Can you please have her on dressed up as Anna Valerius from Van Helsing, please, with the big curls and the Romanian accent and everything? Because I'd probably just fall to pieces. That would be my ideal show. Anyway, so let's get into the rest of the week in review. Scott,
Not much this week.
well, you can talk about
Work my ass off.
the the
Fake Asaka.
no, the Bakelite thing. Oh yeah, you could tell him the
Oh.
Arasaka Saga too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not into repeating that too often.
Okay. I said something earlier, I think it was either last week on the show or sometime during the week in chat. So, like, if you guys are watching on YouTube and you see that thing scrolling at the top of the screen, we chat every day, Monday through Friday, in that room just at the very top that says Lobby for Working Stiffs. Any and all of you are welcome to come join it. There's a link or there's an email address below in the description. Just cut and paste it. I know it's really long. I did that on purpose. If you know the reference to what that address is, put that in your email too. But anyway, if you want to join the server, you want to be part of that chat, you can jump in at any time. It's perfectly fine. We'll take you in. If you use a different name than you did from Gun Channels, just let me know who you were so I can at least identify you. But yeah, we do that every week. And I said something kind of cruel, I admit. And we compared how many milsurps I bought that all worked compared to how many milsurps Scott bought that didn't work. And I said that he was 0 for 3. And I was wrong because I was only thinking of the 2 Arasakas and an AK you bought. But I was wrong. You were actually 1 for 5 because your M1 carbine is brilliant. Like that came out perfect, right? It's a pretty nice one. But anyway,
Well, it does have a slight feeding ammo issue.
I was trying to give you a bone here. Anyway,
Although my Dutch
that's the fourth one.
mannlicher actually still shoots.
Yeah. That was the fourth one,
So
though. Like, that's one I forgot about earlier.
that can't count because that actually does shoot.
Yeah, but it blew its muzzle cap off.
Yeah, but it's still functional.
Yeah. You know, I forgot who I was talking to the other day, but I was telling them, I'm like, if Scott sends me both of his Arasakas and his Dutch Mannlicher, I will combine the two Arasakas to make him one working gun, but keep the Mannlicher for myself as my fee. Anyway.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that.
No, that they were too different. I mean, let's be honest. So, if you don't want to tell the story, I'll just summarize it to keep it short and sweet. Scott bought a Type 38 because I bought a Type 38, and at first it seemed like a good one. Then he got it and he took it apart and found out it needs a few things. It was missing a few things too, right? Like the front barrel band or whatever.
Yeah, it was missing a few things.
So then,
mostly screws.
Yeah, so then it was like, okay, well, here's numeric, here's, Liberty Tree and all this, and we try to find them, and sometimes they just don't have it. So the solution was, well, I'll just buy a parts gun. I'll buy something that's, I know something's wrong with it, but if it has the parts I need, I'll just have that sent over, and then I'll gut it for parts and rebuild the other one, take the best of each of the two guns and combine them. By your powers combined, I'm Captain Arasaka. Anyway, that kind of thing, right? And that didn't work out either, because the guy who sold it to him, this is going to start off like a rant, but it has a semi-positive ending. So the guy who sold it to him, who has over 1,000 positive feedbacks, right? So it's like, you seem like this guy's trustworthy, and he identified the gun incorrectly. He said it was a Type 38 Arasaka, and he described some of the things that were wrong with it, and then he sold it, and Scott bought it for short money. I mean, let's be honest, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was still, money. So it arrives, he gets it home, he starts showing us here in the server, he takes pictures of it, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that looks weird, that looks weird, that looks weird, that looks weird, and that looks really weird. So the further he gets it apart, the worse it gets. The action comes out of it. First of all, he knew this, but it was a smoothbore. First thing that told me, that's a trainer. Then, the receiver. The really strange thing was, the rear of the receiver looked like a legitimate Arasaka. The front of the receiver looked like a cast piece. And I'm like, they didn't do that. They casted the whole thing or none of it at all. So someone cobbled together two receivers somehow and then put the smoothbore barrel on it. But that came out. And then the stock had a split from the front of the magazine well all the way to the back of the stock almost. And the worst epoxy job I've ever seen. And the front of the nose cap was all punked out, right? And the bolt was a little wonky looking.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't it have something to do with one of the sights too?
Oh yeah, the rear sight block completely rotates.
Yeah.
It's not even close to being the right diameter.
Yeah. So the rear sight on an Arasaka, it's got these two bands that slide down the barrel, and then they're brazed onto the barrel, right? Right after the Knox form. And you could literally grab it and spin it 360 degrees. It was the diameter was too big, or the barrel was too small. And it was a smoothbore. So anyway, he was getting pissed. And I have to admit, I was kind of giggling in my head. I was like, God, you really can't pick him. But, cooler heads prevailed. And I was like, look, reach out to the guy. Just be civil. I know you want to rip his fucking head off. But just say, yo, this is nothing like you described. I can't use anything out of this gun. And I bought it as a parts gun. I understood I bought it as a parts gun. But all the parts are useless. The hard part about buying something on Gunbroker, first of all, is you bought it on Gunbroker. The second thing is if you have it sent to your FFL and you do a transfer on it, that sort of complicates things. But the guy reached out back and he said, I will work with your FFL and we'll arrange for a refund. I've never heard of a seller doing that properly. But
I
it's
haven't heard back from him, and I haven't heard from my FFL either.
but you said you're gonna go see him later today to find out.
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, let's be honest. The people who sell on Gunbroker that are usually shops, if they have a storefront, Gunbroker is something they do when the storefront is slow. So granted, Monday through Friday they might be busy. Saturday they might be a little bit busy. Sunday for sure they have no excuse because that's usually when shops are closed anyway. So benefit of the doubt, the guy reached out. He did offer, and that's really cool because most of the time when a person on Gunbroker sells something in their terms of sale, it's like sold as is, where is, whatever, no refunds, no whatever. This guy did that, but because of his reputation on Gunbroker and because of the way that he was approached with evidence that this thing's useless, he didn't fall into that trap of, hey, I wrote it in the I wrote you can't take it back. He didn't say any of that. The guy was like, okay, I'll work with you. And that's cool. So like,
no, because he probably knew I would initiate proceedings against him through Gunbroker,
sure, absolutely.
which I would well be within my rights to do.
Right. But I think in this case, if this turns out positive, like let's say episode 12 of this by next Saturday, if you have a positive outcome and the gun's on the way back to the guy, I think you should plug him just for being stand up. Like maybe he didn't take it apart, maybe he doesn't know what he's doing with milsurps, whatever. But if he corrected it, we should give him something positive, because it's very rare that you hear about guys doing this. They're usually just like, kiss my ass, I got your money
Well,
already.
I've had to initiate contact every time with this.
Sure.
shop, so
Sure. Because I mean,
I'm not holding my breath that they're going to do the right thing. We shall see.
Yes, I did.
Well, that opens up the door for a nice little side tangent here.
All right, go on.
What have anybody bought that wasn't what it was supposed to be gun-wise?
Ooh. Hold that thought. I will answer that when I can think of the answer. Let me very, very briefly just do my weekend review. I know we've tangented it a bit, but
Okay.
all right. Weekend review. Really hot in South Texas. I've had to work double duty because George, which everyone who ever listens to our daily chats knows, George uses the F word like a comma with his Ro-Mexican accent. His father was Romanian, his mother's Mexican, so he's a Ro-Mexican. With
Yeah,
that
he's
accent,
known as fucking George.
yeah, because it's a comma. It really is. Like, he's the reason why they said that the word fuck is everything. A verb, an adverb, a noun, a pronoun. He's the reason that that saying exists. Anyway, he had to go in for surgery Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was Tuesday. No, it was Wednesday. He went in Wednesday at 7 a.m. And then I got a phone call the minute I walked into the shop because I had to go pick him up from a surgeon. And he had gotten a cut underneath his armpit all the way down to his floating rib because they had to split him open and they had to cut out several pounds, or no, sorry, 3/4 of a pound of bad muscle tissue. He apparently tore a pectoral muscle similar to like how I did, and it did the same thing.
Okay, well.
It balled up, and then it reattached in the wrong place.
Now, would that not be considered breast reduction surgery?
The thing is it actually went underneath his armpit. If it was out front, yes. But the strange enough, because you said that, they sent him to a plastic surgeon to get it worked on because it is in that region of the body, and they're good at that. A specialist in rhinoplasty and breast augmentation. So yeah, they did do that. But anyway, the muscle was useless because he had let it go so long that over time his body had replaced the muscles that were supposed to be in that place. So the one that was kind of balled up and redundant had to go. So they took it out of him.
Someone tore like a titty muscle.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It was to the left of his nipple on the bottom, like 4 o'clock quadrant if you're facing him. and it rolled up
Like
under his
in
arm.
car crash or like did someone fall and
It
tear a muscle?
what happens if you do a complete tear is the first time you move and flex that muscle, the other end that's connected is going to do what it's supposed to do. So it retracts all the meat away from the other
Oh
end because
yeah,
it's not going to it can't stretch because it's not attached. So it just takes it along for the ride.
yeah.
And
So like on YouTube, you can see like freshly like butchered beef, like it'll still like move and like squirm.
I've seen
Like
that.
yeah, I
So
assume
anyway,
there's something similar.
what happened was a couple of hours of movement put it to its final spot. A couple of months, I think actually 2 or 3 years of a
Damn.
couple of years of him just leaving it alone. It eventually started getting uncomfortable because even though it's balled up, it reattached somewhere else, and then
Oh.
it was developing and growing like muscle tissue. So it got a little bit
Like
bigger, and the nerves got in there, and it was very uncomfortable for him. So he had it cut out,
hmm.
and I had to pick him up, bring him back, and he hasn't been back
Oh,
at work
your
since.
coworker.
Yeah, so he hasn't been back at work since. But when I picked him up from the appointment or from his surgery, I asked him, I was like, "Can you describe what you went through?" And he's like, he told me everything, and I thought, I got to go see his doctor because I've been dealing with the same thing at the 1 o'clock position on the same pectoral muscle area for 4 years now.
So you need breast reduction too, huh?
I think it's the muscle that attaches over my shoulder down to the pec. But I've got that same sort of the sensation he described was the same. And the funny thing is, the battery of tests he went through when they determined what was wrong with him is the same battery of tests I went through. He was like, "Yeah, it wasn't cancer. No, I don't have a heart condition. Yes, my cholesterol's fine. All that stuff." And he said that his doctor finally, did a couple of MRIs or whatever, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this muscle's not supposed to be there." So chances are I'm going to do the same thing.
So like how did you guys like rip those like weird muscles like all those years ago?
Well, I'm an IT guy, but I double up as, when George has to move things in the warehouse, I'll give him a hand. Or
Mm.
if I have like a large order to build, I don't bother him to go grab the parts. I go grab them myself. But I build machines they start off 42 pounds. By the time I'm done assembling them, they're like 70 to 80 pounds, which doesn't sound like
Mm-hmm.
much, but when you build 60 of them in 2 days, that's a lot of lifting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Exercise isn't a one repetition thing, it's multiple repetitions, and that's what I did. I remember one day I took a machine and I had to throw it on top of a pallet, and it weighed I think it was about 75 pounds. And I lifted it over my head, and that's when I felt like my chest got struck by lightning. I was like, it's not supposed to feel like that. So,
We don't stretch enough.
yeah, actually,
Yeah,
no, you're right.
basically, it was rich enough.
You're right. When I was younger, I used to wonder why people stretched and why are they being big babies about exercise and all this other stuff.
Yeah, like when you're really young, like you're more flexible, and like when you get older, like
Yep.
like, I remember like when I was 10, like I could fucking like hug my toes, but like now, like fuck, I can't reach them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, as I got older, I got less limber, I guess, which I wasn't very flexible
Mhm.
growing up, and now I understand the importance of it. And to relieve the pressure off that pectoral, I have to do this really strange stretch 5 or 6 times a
Well,
day.
like, I don't know if it's really special. Like I think it physically like makes your muscle like a bit longer. So like
I have
even
to
if you
stretch it.
stretch it,
I have to stretch. I have to
Mhm.
literally pull it to the brink of pulling a muscle to take tension off of it. So what I do is I used to do when I used to work out and go to the gym for boxing.
Mhm.
I did this
Mhm.
exercise where I did push-ups on cinder blocks, so I could actually lower my abdomen below the weight or the level of my shoulders,
Uh,
going
mhm.
below level. So that stretch does exactly what I need for my pecs, but I don't have a place to put the cinder blocks anymore. So what I usually do is I just take my hand and I place it on a counter, and then I lean
Mhm.
downwards until my shoulder's below the level of my wrist. and that does the same thing. It's like a one-sided push-up. Anyway, so that was part of my week. The other part is I finally got my laptop back. I had bought a couple years back. I bought a new at the time Lenovo i7 touchscreen 17.9-inch laptop. It was really nice at the time. I think it was like $1,500 or something. I bought it and I brought it home
Like,
and I put the
it's
software I
also
wanted
great
on it.
today.
And
Mhm.
then
What kind of software?
I ended up like my mom wanted to watch something and she was like, "Hey, my uncle." She goes, "My brother told me that I can watch streaming videos from Korea on the internet. Can you show me how to do it?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"Sure."
okay. Okay, so like I was assuming like something else like like
It was
Linux
like
or like some
Korea
other
on
stuff.
demand or something like that. She's watching it right now. But anyway, a couple of years back she asked me about this. So
No,
I,
well, I'm pretty sure you can just use a VPN and access
I mean, it's
Korean
fine. It
Netflix.
works. It's just she didn't have a computer to do it. So I didn't want to do it from my room. I didn't want my dad's room to get tied up all day with her in it. So I took my laptop out there and I plugged it into the TV and I showed her how it works. And she goes, "Oh, do you mind if I watch this for a while?" I'm like, "No, go ahead. I ain't got nothing to do." That was like almost 3 years ago, and I hadn't seen my laptop
Mm-hmm.
since. I saw it twice. One time I saw it because she said that the monitor stopped working, so I had to replace the video cable because every time she opened it and
Mm-hmm.
closed it, it breaks the cable eventually. I
Mm-hmm.
replaced the cable, but I broke the LCD panel putting it back together. Needless to say, I was pissed. Then she kept folding it into tablet mode, and the vents on the CPU were covered up half the time, and she kept overheating it. And she never cleaned the dust out of it, so it was really overheated. So like she was
Oh,
shorting the life of this thing.
so like years ago, like when I had a laptop, like sometimes like I'd close the laptop with like uh earbuds in between the hinges, and like the hinges literally just popped off.
That's sort of what I had her do. So like after I cleaned it out and I
Mhm.
showed her that she can't leave it snap shut like this all the time, I built these little tabs to keep the monitor open slightly. And she liked that because she could walk up to the screen because I put it right under the TV and she could just use it like a kiosk. But the screen was broken, so she would have to look at the TV screen while moving her finger across the touchscreen because the touchscreen still worked. Anyway, so I fixed that, and then she decided that she was going to use like this metal mesh rack and put it on top. And then every time she moved it, she broke off one of the keyboard keys. And I'm like, wow, this thing is starting to turn into a piece of shit. She's ruining my laptop, one damaged thing at a time, right? So one day she pissed.
Well, I mean, like at that point, you should have just gotten her like a cheaper laptop and like use the laptop for your own. I mean,
Well, one day
why do you
she.
need like an i7, like a very expensive like graphics card
I wasn't
laptop for
intending to
watching
give it
Netflix?
to her. That's the problem. She sort of annexed it. But anyway, so one day she pissed me off and I grabbed it and I yanked the cord out of it and I took it into my room and I wouldn't give it to her for 2 weeks. She was bored to tears because she got so used to watching this shit that she got angry and then she got depressed. So one day I decided I was like, you know what, fuck it. So I took it back out, I plugged it back in, and I told her I'm like, you're gonna watch this, but I'm getting you another computer because this one's gonna be retired. It's burned out. You fucked it up enough times. I fucked it up enough times. It's gonna be retired. I'm gonna take the CPU out of it. I'm gonna take the hard drive out of it, and I'm gonna throw away the rest of it. And so I bought her a. There's a pattern here. I bought her a Lenovo because when people ask me for a machine they could just buy online, I will never, ever recommend HPs, Gateways, Dells, fuck all that. Because you end up with a
Yeah.
machine that's new in the box with tech that's 6 years old. Fuck that. And you end up with stuff that you don't even want in it. Fuck that. If you want a machine to do a job that has a good processor, good RAM, and a good hard drive, and not a lot of the bullshit you don't want on it, buy a Lenovo
Yeah,
because they're
like
derivative of IBM.
don't buy Apple, don't buy Dell, don't buy HP. Like don't buy like any of the like legacy
I'll get
laptop
into
makers.
Apple in a second.
Yeah,
I'll get into
mhm.
Apple in a
Yeah,
second. But the thing is
they're fucking overpriced and well,
yeah. So the Lenovo it's a derivative of IBM. They build no nonsense machines. It's like this is it. This is what we're going with. Take it or leave it. They don't.
Wait. Novo is owned by IBM. I thought like they were like a Taiwanese company.
They are assembled there, yes, but they're a derivative of IBM. They originally were IBM, but I think they sort of spun off. But anyway,
Okay.
so I got her a desktop, a miniature desktop, which is sort of similar to the home theater PC I once built, and it was a 8th generation i5, 12 gig of RAM, DDR4, and a two terabyte solid state drive. Now, it was a refurb, but I'm an IT guy. I'm a technician. I know how to keep these things going. So refurb doesn't scare me because they usually use original parts. I got it for $180. The hard drive was worth that. So it arrived, and what was cool was
Yeah.
it had nothing I didn't want. It had 10 USB 3 ports on the back. It had 2 more in the front. It had built-in speakers on the case. It had the solid-state drive. It had a display port output. The only thing that I didn't like about it was it's air-cooled, but I don't think they make a liquid cooler that small. So
I mean, they probably do, but like,
no, because
it's probably customer phone.
this uses half-height PCI plates, like you would see on a Wii U server case.
So I have a 144 like frame like computer screen, and like I've used like a lot of monitors, and like integrated speakers just tend to be shit. I mean, it's like
they're only 5 watts or 3 watts, but I mean the fact of the matter is it came with it, which is better than half the desktops you get out there. Like they don't have anything; you have to plug something into it. But it also came with the Bluetooth dongle, a wireless adapter dongle. It also came with a wireless and Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. I paid $180 for it. So like, and it fit in this tiny little gap above the TV because the TV is a 65-inch, and it's got this shelf on my wall unit that's only got maybe 12 inches of space in the front of it, and it slipped right in there where my satellite receiver used to go. So that's where she's at now. She got that. She's happy. It's running cool. It's not overheated. The first thing I did was I took the hard drive out because she ain't gonna need it, and I took a 1 terabyte Western Digital Enterprise Gold data center drive. I stuck it in there because those are made to run constantly, and I put a fresh install of Windows 11 on it. Like I went straight to 11 on that one.
What? 11 is already a thing? I didn't even know it existed yet.
That's because you've been living in Pyongyang under a rock trying to hide from Kim Jong-un all the damn time. Or you've been slugging it out in the jungles of Panama. Anyway, point is...
I was in the jungles of Panama.
So her machine runs. She's happy. Then I got to geek out. So when I turned 40, I started hitting the ages of dad jokes. I find them funny, but if you tell me too many of them, I'm like, dude, stop it with the dad jokes. Like, I'm not at the point where I'm all dad jokes. So I get the joy out of dad jokes these days.
So you're becoming a boomer.
I'm getting old. So the other thing is I also get joys out of doing just simple adult level shit, right? So I was in bed one day and I slipped under the covers and I stuck my arm down under the covers and my bed sheet ripped.
Wait.
Halfway down. And I thought, well, shit. They were old. I mean, I probably had them for a couple of years, and I put them in the wash, and they get softer and softer, and they tear, just like jeans. And I always buy the ones that are like high thread count, so they tear faster than more rigid sheets. So I got pissed off, right? Because usually what would happen is I'd buy I'd have sheets, they'd wear out, I'd wash them or whatever, and then like every once in a while, I would just like in passing, I would ask my mom, I'm like, hey, next time you're at like TJ Maxx or Home Goods and you see bedding sets, I was like, would you mind picking me one up? I'll just pay you for it. So I never really like picked my own out. She just goes and buys them and brings them home. Well, this time I bought my own.
It's not clothing.
Yeah. So like this time I bought my own, and it was.
Wait, I'm gonna check in my luggage. I'll join you guys again soon.
So anyway, I bought Egyptian Giza cotton sheets, not Mike Lindell's. I forgot about those at the time. I had these on my Amazon wish list since 2015. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to buy them. And they shipped them. I got them. And they came out better than anything I expected. Like, they're nicer. They're comfy. I got to mute him. He doesn't even know we're on air. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
I have to do this. I'm sorry. There. All right. So anyway, damn it. Okay, so yeah, they were a better color than I expected. It was a 1,500 thread count. I thought it was 1,000. So they're like silk. And like, I made my bed. I slipped into it one night, and I was just like, oh, this is so nice. And I fell asleep. I was out like a dead body. Like, I haven't been getting much sleep. I fall asleep at like 2 in the morning now. I got to get up 4 hours later to go to work. And 4 hours of sleep is enough. I cannot stress the importance of good bedding. Like, if your pillow's too skinny or too hard or too whatever, it wears you out. You don't sleep well. But you just deal with it. You grit your teeth and deal with it. I don't have to do that anymore. Like, advanced level adulting says if your bed's uncomfortable, make it comfortable. Now I understand the importance of it. But anyway, I was just being a geek about it because it's not something you're supposed to take joy in, and yet I did, That was the dumbest thing I ever did in terms of like finding joy. But it is joyful because like it's very cool. Like my girlfriend likes it. She saw it and she goes, "Ooh, these are nice." And I'm like, "Yeah, why don't you slip underneath them and take it for a test drive?" She slid up underneath them. She's like, "I got to get me some of these." I'm like, "Mikasa Sukasa." And she's like, No, I just meant for home at her place." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." So I sent her a link to where to get them. She bought the scarlet ones. I got the ones that look like, I don't know, chocolate mousse. It's pretty cool. They look good.
One's beyond that you don't see the stain.
No, they're dark enough where everything would. Finally got my tools to work on a TurboGrafx 16. I know most of you don't know what that is, but if you're a gamer, you know exactly what that is because that was America's first 16-bit console. It uses a really strange security screw, and I was back ordered on it since February. They finally arrived, so I finally get to work on that, much to my friend's displeasure because he asked me to fix it back in January. Got that. Let's see what else happened. Got the blind shelves for my reloading setup, so I'll do an update on that. Filmed 3 episodes of The Long Dark. If you guys have been watching my penny arcades, that's a good one for gun people, survival people, and game people, so it kind of fits everybody. And I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah, I think that's my week in review. I don't really have anything else other than that. Oh, yeah, Evie's in heat. My dog. My dog's female puppy is in heat. That's been fun. Yeah. But what's cool is the first time she was in heat, I had to put her in like a chastity belt type thing, and then like keep her away from all the other dogs. This time she's sort of been proactive. She will lay underneath the couch where they can't get to her. That's the first thing she does. And in the event that she wants to come out and see me, and the males start chasing her, she bites them. She turns around and goes savage, like straight savage on them, and bites them. Now they won't go near her. They have a complex because of her. I was like, that's my baby girl's baby girl, because like my dog, I call her nickname's Baby Girl. So it's like she's the daughter of that. I'm like, that's my baby girl's baby girl, and she just bites everything now. Like any male dog, she just attacks it before it even has a chance to like sniff her backside. It's great. She fits
they
into my
tend
family.
to do that after they're knocked up.
Nah, she definitely isn't. Because like when they started doing it was when she just started going in. Like she wasn't. I call it Almond Joy just as a joke, but she's swollen down there when she goes into heat. But she hadn't started swelling yet, so I sort of saw it happening, and then I stopped it. But she was already attacking him before that even got to that point. She's almost over it now. But yeah, that was weird watching her do that for the first time because like the youngest puppy showed up and just went to go like hang out with her, right? Because they play a lot. He wasn't even trying to sniff her backside, and she bit him right on the neck, and he just took off like. I picked him up.
Guys asking to be unmuted.
I know, but I gotta. Jesus. See, he doesn't know we're on air. That's why he keeps doing this. I never get a chance to explain it to him because he's hardly ever here. So anyway, okay, that's the week in review. I want to go back to your question about was there ever a gun that I purchased that it wasn't what I expected, right? That was your question? Tony?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the question.
Okay. So, all right, I have to let me unmute him and then he'll understand what the hell's going on. Phoenix. Listen very carefully. We're live on air, so you have to be a little more cognizant of that. Okay. Any gun that I purchased that wasn't what I thought it would be.
Hello?
He didn't even hear that, did
You guys
he?
hear me?
Yes, we're on air though, so you have to be
Okay.
a little more cognizant of that fact.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. My Oh yeah. Okay. I've got 3 good examples of guns that I bought that it wasn't what I thought. First one, Beretta PX4 Storm Compact, rotating barrel. I bought it because of its action. I thought it was really cool looking, very comfortable in the hands, decent capacity, decent sights. Went with that and took it out to the range, and really, it's not I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It was just so much work to shoot that gun accurately because the gun is so top heavy and all that reciprocating mass just it's a very strange impulse. So when you shoot it, you tend to be all over the place with it. So I didn't like that one. I ended up trading it off. Gun number 2, Beretta PX4 Subcompact, the tiny one, tilt barrel. Shot better than the rotating barrel, but still has a lot of reciprocating mass. So it felt really weird. Like, it felt like the reciprocating arm of a locomotive when you shot it. You know, how you kind of pushes forward and rises up and then pushes down and then drops back or whatever. It had that feeling every time I shot it. So I got rid of that one. And then the third one was probably my Walther PPK. It was the first gun I bought, and first problem was I bought it in the wrong finish. I got a stainless instead of blued, and I bought it in the wrong caliber. I got it in 380 instead of 32. And it was like a case of never meet your heroes. I liked the gun, but I didn't shoot it very well, and it bit me constantly, and I have a permanent scar above my thumb because of it. But I'll probably buy another one because my fundamentals are better than they used to be, so I should be able to shoot it better now. And then I guess as a distant fourth, the first generation M&P, what do they call them? M&P Shield in 40. That one, I mean, it was good. That'd be like a distant fourth, though. But those are the guns that I bought that didn't work out the way I thought they would. Anyone else with that one? Because, I mean...
I have 2. First off is a Taurus PT709, which just didn't work. And the second one, which was a huge freaking disappointment, was the Walther CCP. That thing was a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember you talking about that. You know what's funny is a lot of people bag on the Creed, but that one actually shoots pretty good. It was cheaper than the CCP, I think, too.
Yeah.
It was like the Sigma version of a CCP, I think.
Oh, it's the Sigma version of a PPQ.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking that, too.
It's actually a hammer-fired gun, too.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, Scott, you got anything like that?
Believe it or not, my first pistol I bought, which was a Gen 4 Glock 17.
What did it do or not do that you thought it would?
Well, when you held it, the finger grooves didn't really feel off,
Mm.
but shooting it, they were annoying as fuck. And I couldn't get used to the grip angle.
So a Gen 5 would probably work in your favor then.
Currently the only Glock I own is a 19X.
Oh yeah, that's right. You do have one. The only one I've got is a 43X.
That's the only one that came with the features that I didn't want and the ones I did want.
Mm-hmm.
So the 43X was like the single stack 9mm compact, right?
The 43 was. The 43X was the way that the magazine is designed. I call it a stack and a half. It's a little staggered. It's shallowly staggered, and it only holds 10 rounds. But then Shield Arms turned around and made it brilliant. They took the same magazine, they just changed the follower a bit, and made it like a stack and 3/4, and it holds 15. And then if you get a +5 base plate for it, and you leave one in the chamber, you've got a 21 round compact 9mm, which I have, which I carry almost every day. I haven't got the +5 base plates yet, but I'm considering getting some. I got the one
mags are
with
reliable?
huh?
Are the mags reliable, like the
Very.
like the Shield one?
Very.
Okay.
They went through a lot of trouble R&Ding that. And then they went through a lot of trouble with delays to make sure that they were heat treated properly. So the shipment was delayed by several months, but now they've fulfilled orders for over like almost 2 years, I think now. They sell out constantly.
Oh,
In stock.
So you were talking about like the Beretta PX4 compact and like not being able to, like barely being able to hit a bar. I don't know what's about that. I went through TSA during like talking about that.
Mm. Oh yeah, I had the compact and the subcompact because I just wanted to. I was eventually going to get the full size too, just to have the set. But those two guns shot so strange compared to anything else I've ever had, including, I had for a short time a Grand Power that had the rotating barrel, and that shot fine. So it was. I think what it was is just the sheer top heavy weight of that slide. It's a cool looking gun. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you ever watched the movie The Tomorrow War, the one with God damn it, it's one of my favorite actors right now, Chris Pratt. If you ever see that movie, they take an AR pistol, actually it's an SBR in the way they did it, and they put Hera CQR furniture on it. And they were like, look, it's a gun of the future. And I'm like, oh, I got one of those, but mine ain't that short because I didn't want to pay a stamp. But they did that. And then, like, you could take a PX4 Storm and use that in a movie saying, look, it's the gun of the future, because it kind of looks like one. It's curvy and silky finished, and, you know, it doesn't look like a normal gun. It's chunky.
Baseball did that.
Yeah, it's pretty chunky.
Yeah, they took that 22 from like the 70s, threw that in there. Yeah.
It's like guns of the future. I would put that in there. I'd put an AR with the CQR setup. Once upon a time, I would say that the Whitney Wolverine, which is probably my favorite 22 of all time, I would have one. It had to be nickel finished with ivory grips. They're gorgeous. Like, Elroy Jetson would carry one. That's what it looks like. It's just beautiful. And strangely enough, the Vector CP1, which I still want to own one, but I don't want to pay what they're selling for these days. That's kind of future-y looking. It's very curvy. I like it. I heard that if you got one that didn't get the recall repair, you could sometimes have a runaway machine pistol, and I'm totally cool with that too.
Ride the lightning.
Yeah.
So anyways, you're saying like the PX4, it's like it's so different. Like it's not that it's a bad gun. Like it's so different that you can't shoot it properly.
It's not a bad gun. It's just not the gun for me. The reciprocating weight of it is in the wrong place. Compare it to like my Hudson H9. The H9 I bought is heavy. It's all steel. I didn't want the aluminum one when I ordered it. They offered it to me. I was like, no, I want the heavy. And they looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, just get me what I asked. Thankfully, I did, because if I asked for the light one, I would have never got a gun, because they never sold any. I guess they blew all the money on Lauren Hudson's tit job. I mean, I'm not the only one who noticed that. You all noticed it too. Anyway, that shoots that gun shoots brilliantly. Like, the bore axis is low. I'm pretty sure that the guys who invented the Logo Alien looked at the Hudson and go, we can do that better, and they did. Of course, it cost $5,000. But yeah, I'm proud to say that I still have one of the few Hudsons that I bought right from the start. Mine's got a 4-digit serial number, so it's pretty low. But I mean, they didn't make that many in the first place either. But it still works. Like, it never breaks. It never broke. It always works. Conservatively speaking, I'd probably put at least 2,500 rounds through it. It still works. Still haven't broken anything. The only thing I could tell you, though, is if you have a Hudson H9 and it shoots low, I think? I can't remember now. It's either if it shoots high or low. Run 147 grain bullets in it, because they seem to really like them. That's the only 9 I have that I give it a healthy dose of 147s, because it's the only thing that it shoots very accurately. But yeah, that Beretta is just, it's weird. Like, if I didn't have the guns I traded them for, I probably would have kept them anyway and just kept trying to get better with them. But they just frustrated me. It was one of my first gun reviews. It was called like A Tale of Two Berettas. At the time, like, I praised it. I thought it was a cool, innovative thing. But the longer I had it, the worse it got. It was like entering into a bad marriage, you know? It's like, oh yeah, I married the prom queen and she ended up being on Weight Watchers 2 years later. And then she was in my fat ass life and died. That kind of feeling. My 600-pound life or whatever. But yeah, it's just, I bought it. I ended up regretting it. Now everything I've got, I don't regret at all. Like, obviously I hung them all on the wall.
So when I was in Panama, like, I shot like some kind of HP pistol, I shot a Glock, and I shot like a CZ. It's like I like the CZ, like, it's a cool gun, but like the trigger, it's like it's a long trigger pull, and it's not tactile at the end. It just goes boom.
Oh,
So,
I'm glad you said that.
like, I got it.
The Berettas did the same thing. The take-up, on that trigger had no feel. It was like it wasn't connected to anything. For 95% of the pull. You got to the very end and all of a sudden it was like, bang. Oh, it's the dumbest feeling ever. Both of them did that. The rotating one and the tilt barrel, because they're both striker anyway. They both did that. It was the dumbest trigger I've ever had.
What kind of CZ was it?
I'm pretty sure it was a 75.
That sounds like a clapped out one.
Yeah, they're usually pretty tight.
Yeah, they're known for having good triggers. Maybe you're just not used to a double action trigger. That's probably more like it.
No. Yeah. Was it double action? I don't know. Well, like, the like this yeah. I guess it might be double action. Like the like hammer, like it always, like, it was always in the fire position, but like I guess.
Oh, it's double single. First pulls long and heavy, and after that the slide resets it into double or single.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to turn Tony's question inverse.
It was a long trigger.
Name a gun that you bought that you had very low expectations of, but turned out to be fantastic. I'll go last. I'll let y'all go first.
Phoenix HP 22.
Fuck out of here, man. Seriously?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Describe why.
the damn thing doesn't fail.
So your Phoenix is like my old Hudson. You got one that actually worked.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know that gun. Like, are we talking about like the old like Saturday Night Special gun makers Phoenix or?
Yeah.
yeah, it works, and it's really accurate for what it is.
Mm.
Or I'm accurate with it, whichever way you want to look at it. I love that little gun.
Well, y'all jump in. I mean, any gun you bought, your expectations were low, and you were pleasantly surprised that it was awesome.
Whose is AK?
I remember when you got that. He sent you the wrong mags the first time, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why. Yeah, he sent me the AK-74 mags with that instead of the 47. Like, I sent them back to him, and he sent me the right ones. But I went out.
I gotta say that these Heritage Rough Riders I got aren't bad either. I haven't shot them to near the extent I had Phoenix, but I think they're pretty damned accurate too.
Zoro was saying his Tavor X95 was much better than his Steyr AUG. Well, yeah, okay. That's not really fair, though, is it? Because the X95 came out way later. They got to look at AUGs and improve upon
the AUG
it.
Come out in the 70s or the 80s?
Yeah.
Oh, they were out in the 70s, the AUG.
Yeah, the 70s. So
there was plenty of time to build off of that, for sure.
You're comparing like a 30, 40-year-old gun to like, a new gun.
Yeah, it's like a 1911 to a Glock, right?
Yeah. Like, well, yeah,
no, Glock
sort
is
of.
1980.
Oh, no. I said that tongue in
there's
cheek.
a few more years than
Well, I mean, I guess for likeness to likeness, it would be like a third gen Smith versus a Gen 5 Glock. Something like that, where it's almost the same type of platform. It's just they got better and smoother and guns that I
Yeah,
bought
plus I think the AUG is notoriously known for a bad trigger bar in that thing.
It's just the way it's designed.
Yeah.
Bullpup.
It's the way it has to be. Yeah.
But the problem is you're gonna get that with a lot of bullpups because of the way the bullpups are designed in general. They're always gonna have that trigger bar, or it'll be some sort of wire or something. And it's not ideal.
Yeah, I don't think there's a good bullpup out there. I remember hearing something about one that I remember hearing about one bullpup that's pretty good, but I can't remember enough to say which one it was.
I still want to build one. I still want to build one. I need to find someone who has, and if you're in the audience and you have one, or if you know somebody who's got one for sale, you can email me and I'll probably buy it. I'm looking for an SKS with a broken stock. Like, all I need is a good action. I don't care about the stock. It can be trash. You can have just the barreled action. Like, I don't need a stock.
Like, I don't know about SKSs, but like you can buy like Mosin action. I'm pretty sure you can do this.
No, I found this company that they make a pretty neat bullpup chassis for SKSs, and for some stupid reason, I want to build one. Like, I guess it's sort of like just to say I did it, And if it turns out to be a decent shooter, then bonus. But if not, I'll probably flip it after I get bored of it. But I really want to build one, especially because if they get expensive later, I'll be like, damn, I missed the bus.
About good bullpups, I mean, there's the RDB, there's the RFB.
Oh, that's a good one. No, you're right. We're about to praise Keltec. Holy shit. The RDB actually does shoot really well. Like, I rented one at my local. He had the regular one, and then he had the RDB-C, which is the California compliant one. And I got to admit,
is that like the super skeletonized one? Like
that one's better.
Magazine.
Well, no, the thing that sets it off is you put your thumb over the top of a stock like an old gun, like an older rifle. It doesn't. You don't pistol grip it. You grab it like an Arasaka. You know, it's got a wrist, and you put your thumb over the wrist. It's one of the nicest shooting guns I've shot. Like, it's so nice. Anyway, that's a great example. Like, we make fun of Keltec, but if it wasn't for guys like that who would like push the envelope for design to make something new, the next thing would never come. Like, maybe it's not the best, but somebody else will go, we can do that better. But then again, I would not hesitate to buy a P50. I want a P50. I will have.
I mean, there are like bad Keltec guns, but like even like the PMR-30, like it used to be shit. Like you could like barely go through a like mag before like having a jam. But like nowadays, like I heard the second gen is like pretty much completely reliable.
Yeah, they've had time to work out the bugs. The thing that annoys me the most is I don't like being a beta tester for firearms. It better fucking work when I buy it. That's a bomb next to your face. I don't want to find out that it doesn't work by losing an eye and turning into the next Paul Mauser. Not gonna happen.
Buy it after like people like review it enough and say, oh shit, like this.
Well, yeah. Crap, or, I mean, think about it like this. I was one of the first people in line to order a Colt Python. And
the new one or the old one?
The new one. And I still haven't gotten it delivered yet.
Oh.
There has been enough recalls and fixes now that by the time I do get one, it'll be fine. But I've been waiting since last May.
Damn.
Yeah. In the meantime, the guy who did the review that I watched, he got 2 of them and an Anaconda. And I'm just sitting there going, what the fuck? Anyway, it doesn't matter because I spent all the money anyway. So like when they call me, I'll just tell them to shove it up their ass.
How much did you pay for it?
14.
Ooh, 14.
14.
Oh, and talking about bullpups, like Remington used to make like this aluminum chassis bullpup, and like there's a small guy with a small shop making something called an M17S.
Mm-hmm. Why does that sound like a SIG?
Like a bullpup shotgun.
Oh,
no,
dude, Tavor TS12.
It's in 5.56.
I would have a Tavor TS12 for sure, absolutely. Later, Ozzy. Okay, so gun that I had low expectations that I was pleasantly surprised by. I could say every milsurp I bought.
Yeah.
Probably because I got a good deal on every one of them, and they were pleasantly in very good shape or very easy to restore. The only exception being my Dutch Beaumont. I paid. Somebody's gonna say I should smack myself for this. I paid $700 for the Dutch Beaumont.
Good smack yourself.
But after I restored it and I took it to collectors and they offered me, I think it was $2,200 for it. I thought, okay, maybe I didn't do so bad. Maybe I did all right. I can only think of one gun that's not a milsurp. Maybe it is. That I bought that I had low expectations for. It would be my Jericho 941F, right? I got the F, the single action one. I don't have Spike Spiegel's gun. Mine's stainless, and it's single action only. He had the 941 that was the double action, which I think is the R.
Well, like for Jericho's, like I think like quite a lot of them like are like police.
They were. Mine's got the Hebrew writing and the Israeli contract mark on it. It's an IWI, not an IMI. But yeah, I had low expectations for it. You know, I think I paid $269 for it, and it got here.
Oh, that's a good deal today.
I bought it like 3 years ago.
How much did they go today? Like 700?
I don't know. I bought it 3 years ago, but I bought it from Classic. It was kind of funny. I bought enough stuff from them that they must have recognized my name because there was a handwritten note in there, and it had the hand select marking on the box, even though I didn't ask for it. So I got it, and it came with this weird plastic cover trigger guard thing on the front, which I took it off at first and I put it back on just because it came with it. but it's removable.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent 4 straight days hand sanding and polishing that frame to as close to a mirror finish as I could get. Like I hit the point of no returns. I can't make it any shinier. And that's after I did it by hand. And then I bought like a knockoff Dremel, and it didn't make it any shinier. Then I got a real Dremel, and it still didn't make it any shinier. I'm like, well, I guess this is it. But I was very pleasantly surprised. I knew it was a CZ75 clone. I knew the magazines were good. I knew the sights were a little wonky because they're really low to the frame or the slide. But god damn, if it wasn't a great gun.
It's a CZ75 clone. Oh,
Yeah,
like
Jericho's
so,
are
I was thinking
75
like
clones.
like I was thinking about like the what you call it, like the Magnum Minis, I think they call it.
Baby Eagle.
Or is it like?
Oh yeah, they do
Yeah,
call it the
Baby
Baby Eagle. They do.
Oh, it's the same gun. Okay.
It's
okay. I was thinking it was.
Yes, it's well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the same gun. They look exactly the same. I think it was just marketing because by then it was IWI or IMI, whichever was the after they changed the name. Then they started calling them Baby Eagles. But yeah, that's the one.
Is the Baby Eagles were made under Magnum Research.
Ah, okay. So it was after the takeover.
Okay. It used to be a different company until.
Yeah, because mine's an actual Israeli one. It was a police trade-in. I don't regret buying that one bit. Like, I always wanted one. I just never could justify the price of one. And then all of a sudden, Classic was like, we got them for $269. I'm like, no, you don't. What do you mean we don't? Because I already bought it. Oh, no, we got a whole bunch of them in stock. Well, I don't care. I got mine. All right. Funny thing was it was either the ones we didn't like or the ones we did like. 3 of us mentioned it was the first gun we purchased. Mine was a didn't like, but y'all's was a did like. Anyway, I have wasted an hour and 17 minutes doing all that. Maybe we should finally get into the news. I mean, that's why you're here, right?
No, not really. We're here.
You're just here because people need to remember who you are.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That's true.
It's fine. Okay. So, first story I got for you today. They're calling this Joe Biden's Saigon Moment.
Oh yeah, it's definitely fucking Saigon.
So, if you didn't know,
like the Americans are like they're expecting to fall Kabul, like they're like evacuating like everyone from the embassy, and like they're taking like, like Afghanis that cooperated.
You say this as we don't see this on TV already.
This is why they call it the Saigon Moment, because they're airlifting people out. But here's the weird thing. In January of this year, there were 2,800 troops on the ground in the entire country of Afghanistan, either as advisors or operatives. As of 2 days ago, the administration has sent in a 3,000 troop surge just to Kabul to evacuate it. That's how dangerous the situation is. And if you've been living under a rock for the last 2 weeks, we have been pulling out of Afghanistan, and the very group that we have legitimized on a global geopolitical stage by bringing them to the table for peace talks, the Taliban, have overrun the entire country and have taken over somewhere between 60 to 80% of it back already. If you didn't need to have your intentions telegraphed, well, you got to let me finish. If you didn't have, if they didn't telegraph their intentions any worse, they have forced all women at the age of at least 15 to register with a bio so they can be selected to be forcibly married to men of the Taliban. Okay? These are the people that we brought to the negotiating table for a peace deal. And it hasn't. We haven't even left yet, and they're doing this.
Maybe they understood peace in the different definition, like piece of ass.
I guess.
Yeah.
My biggest concern is it's almost like the ending of the movie, The Green Zone, right? And if you haven't seen that, it's Matt Damon. But the way that movie ends is a lot like what we're about to see here. You know, in that movie, they try to insert a puppet government by empowering a guy who hadn't been in the country for over like 30 years, right? And then they were trying to find weapons of mass destruction. They were trying to find legacy of the Saddam regime, basically. And they ended up what they needed to do was employ the Iraqi military to help stabilize the country. But instead, they ousted the Iraq. They dissolved it. So of course they revolted.
Yeah, they fired everyone.
Yeah, and they killed the head general. Well, he sort of brought it upon himself, but it led to the death of the head general. But the thing is if you look at the scene at the last part of the movie where they're in that room and all the different factions are arguing over who's supposed to take control of the country, that's exactly what happened in Afghanistan right now. Like all these different factions were sitting there fighting over who's going to take over after we leave. And it created a power vacuum, and the Taliban was like, it's ours again. We're taking it. And they are. They're taking more ground in 6 days than we took in 25 fucking years. Who does that? I'll tell you who does that. The Syrians did that. Or not Syrians, sorry. The Lebanese did that. Not Lebanese. God damn it. The Liberians. Sorry. Is it Liberia?
Liberians?
No.
No.
Libyans. Libyans.
Libya.
Libyans. The same thing happened in Libya after the death of Gaddafi. He got killed. There was a giant power vacuum, and Al Qaeda took over. And here's the thing. We are leaving, that's why they call it the Saigon Moment, right? We're leaving through airlifts. The most dangerous flight out of there is the last one, because there's no cover fire for that plane leaving the tarmac or that helicopter leaving the rooftop. It's going to get shot at by everybody, right? That's the most dangerous one. And we have just created an entire nation that hates us. Because think about it. The Taliban are going to come in. They're going to kill anyone and everyone who dealt with the West and their families and their children and whatever, right? And those that they allow to live after they made an example of all these people are going to hate us because the Taliban is going to say, here's your great Western civilization. Look how they left with their tail between their legs. And you're mad at us? At least we're we're stabilizing the country.
You're ignoring one very important thing, Sean.
What?
You know, we basically created another regime that hates us.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We're going to leave, and all the people we left behind are going to hate us, which is the entire country of Afghanistan.
Once they take over the country, we just created another government and another what is it, Middle Eastern nation that hates us.
Yes,
like Iran.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Wait, so like one thing I don't get is like the Taliban is taking over, but like the factions are like still infighting. I mean,
no, they're killing off the factions.
No, the problem is the factions that may have been against the Taliban weren't really ever against them in the first place. They didn't do anything.
Right. They just had their little each warring party fought for their corner of Afghanistan. But now the fact is we're leaving. Everyone who was ever involved with us is being executed. And now the terrorist group is taking over the whole country. And then once they succeed by taking Kabul, once that last domino falls, they're going to be like, we own this shit. Fall underneath our banner or you're dead too. And they're going to put the people that didn't get killed. The people that didn't get killed are going to put their heads down and they're going to let the Taliban stay in charge. And they're going to secretly hate us for the rest of eternity because we abandoned them. That's the point. Because we're being led by an idiot. Anyway.
Like we can at least hope like in the future they'll become like Vietnam.
Oh,
Like they'll have the
It
crowds
is.
there.
That's why they're calling it the Saigon Moment. But you know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for Joe Biden to have his Nixon moment because of his Saigon Moment. I want to hear him say, effective immediately tomorrow, I'm going to resign as President of the United States of America at 12 o'clock. That's what we're going to have. That's what we're waiting for. That's what we need. That's what the nation needs right now. Fuck the Saigon Moment. We should have never been there in the first place. Let's have the Nixon moment. And you can take Vice President knee pads with him.
Well,
so like all the way, so all the way back in 2001, like after like 9/11 happened, like the whole reason of the invasion happened because like the Taliban didn't want to like give us Al Qaeda. Like so what would you have proposed back then to like solve the problem of like
shoot everyone in the head?
Well, I think we talked about this yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I told you my thoughts before, but I sort of revised them since then.
Oh yeah, like I remember.
I think you sit them all down
to like make you into like a.
Well, you sit them all down in a room, all the leaders of these factions. You can have the leader of the Taliban come too. It's fine. We've already legitimized them, so you have to bring them to the table. So they all sit in a room, and you point at each one of them, and you go, "What is it that you want at the end of the day?" And you listen to them, and you go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and I guarantee you, one thing they're all going to say is, "We want you out of here." That's fine, but what else do you want? One of the things that they're going to say is they don't want that other group to be in charge. They'll point at that other group, and then that group might point to a third group. You see what I'm saying? And you take all the overlaps, and you go, okay, well, there's 9 groups, and you all pointed the fingers at 8 of each other. None of you pointed out that 9th group, so it means you must be okay with that. So how about he stays in charge, we leave, and then y'all can hash out the rest of your government. But let him be the guy in charge for a while, because you didn't hate, none of y'all said not him. So you just voted 8-1.
No, I don't necessarily think that's a good idea.
It gets better. This gets better.
Like, look at what happened to China. Like Jiang Zemin and like they were all like infighting, and so like Xi Jinping, he was like the only like person like they agreed. Oh, like since this guy's a fucking no one and like he has no support base, let's just put him in charge and like.
You weren't here last week for my theory on China. So I have to invite you to watch last week's episode about my theory on China. Once you hear that, you won't ask that question ever again.
Just wait to take over Taiwan.
Anyway, so that's how I would start that meeting, right? You listen to them, you hear them all out, you agree we're leaving, so they all got that. And then you see if there's any overlap, and you eliminate the overlap, and you say, okay, well, that's the one you didn't say anything bad about, so I guess we'll let him be in charge. And then y'all can have elections or do whatever you want to do. And we leave, right? You get up, you start walking out of the room, you shake each one of their hands respectfully. You say, look, I know you don't like us. I told you we're leaving. We'll settle our differences like gentlemen. You shake their hands. Right before you get to the door and they start talking amongst themselves, you go, oh, and turn around and look at each one of them and go, but if any of you or any of your groups attack any of our interests at home or abroad, you can go hide in your caves like you've been doing for centuries when someone comes to invade you. And you may think you will outlast your attackers like you have in decades past. But you will never come out of that cave because we will irradiate your entire fucking country. And then no one can have it. And then walk away. Because that's what they'll do. They'll attack us. We will bomb them. They will hide in their mountains. And when it's all clear, they'll come back out and go right back to the bullshit they were doing before. But if you make it a glowing utopia of radioactive hell, they either have to stay down there until they die, or they come up and grow a third eyeball and die. So fuck it. That's how I would solve that problem. End of story. See, nobody who has ever fought in Afghanistan against Afghanistan, the Russians, us, whoever else, never used nuclear weapons. And there's a reason for that, obviously. But just the threat of it should be, you make that threat serious enough and you sell it to them that you ain't fucking around this time. They can try to attack you. It'll be the last thing they do. It'll be the last thing that country does. And then you have to worry about the fallout, where all the radioactivity leaks beyond it. And then if someone gets mad at you for doing it, just be like, blame them. They're the reason we did it. Y'all were neighbors. You should have controlled your neighbors. It's like, they're like the kid at Chuck E. Cheese screaming for a quarter while you're just trying to order pizza. And like the parent in line behind you smacks your kid and says, hey, shut up. Because obviously the parent can't do it to his own kid because he's too soft. Well, obviously Afghanistan can't solve their own problems. So their neighbors should have been like, yo, shut up.
The problem with like threatening with nukes is like other nuclear powers, not Afghanistan. I mean, when like we nuked Japan, I mean, no one could say anything because like no one had nukes. But like,
no, I know that's why we haven't done it. The threat alone of mutually assured destruction, you put the fear into them because no one's ever done it. That is a bluff nobody has the balls to call. Right? Nobody calls a nuclear bluff ever. They just say, "Whoa, hey, that threat was made. We can threaten to retaliate, and then neither side will do anything." Right? Don't put the bluff out there and see if they'll call it.
They will.
They probably will.
Well, I mean, what happens if Russia says, "Oh, like we will nuke America if like if Afghanistan
No,
gets nuked"?
Russia doesn't
Russia
care about
does not
Afghanistan
like
anymore.
Afghanistan. But I know what you're saying. I know what you're
Russia
saying.
egged us on when we went to
What if an
Afghanistan
ally
the second
of
time.
them threatens us? You're right, and that leads to the mutual assured destruction. That's why it hasn't been done.
No.
Anyway, enough of this. We're dragging on.
It's not necessary. It's not necessarily an ally. Like America threatened to nuke the Soviet Union if the Soviet Union nuked China. I mean, China was never an ally of America. Like they fucking went to war like in 1950. But
Yeah.
like, they saw the Soviet Union as being the greater threat, and America literally said, "We will nuke Moscow if you nuke Beijing."
Yeah. Well, enough of that.
Well,
We wasted too much time on Joe
Russia says
Biden's
the same
stupidity.
thing.
I want to move on.
Okay, sure.
Biden's fucking full of shit anyway.
He is.
All right, next story. In case you've been living under a rock, which apparently I was until yesterday.
You were.
I was. The
I was living in the
ATF
jungles
has
of Panama.
declared war on rare breed firearms. And they have determined that a trigger is a
pack.
machine gun.
Yep.
So,
Is it like a binary trigger?
not really.
I don't know what it is.
If
It's a forced reset trigger. What it is.
It forces the reset faster than you can do it, which allows you a faster
Okay.
follow-up shot. But
Exactly.
they did this. They sent out a letter. Rare Breed's obviously going to take them to court. This is going to turn into another bump stock debacle where it's illegal for a little while, and everyone's going to have boating accidents. And then once a court strikes it down, like the Sixth Circuit,
30 years.
right? Like once it drops out of the Sixth Circuit as unconstitutional, then people will start shooting these again. Same principle, right?
Wait. So like on a federal level, like bump stocks are legal again?
The ban was
never-
determined unconstitutional.
Okay.
So the Sixth
like,
Circuit overturned the ban.
So like you can make bump stocks and like sell bump stocks and own.
I haven't
No.
seen anyone making them, but no one has been stopped for shooting their guns with them anymore.
Okay.
But I think once it gets put to bed once and for all, because obviously the overturn gets appealed, once that happens, then maybe somebody will come back. The fact of the matter is, the AFT, I did it on purpose, the AFT overstepped their authority for like the millionth and 1th time, and they're flexing their muscles and they're potentially about to put another company out of business, because when they did the bump stock ban, they killed slide fire systems, because that's all they were known for. They ended that company unilaterally with the stroke of a pen. 50,000 people
And
lost
they
their
never came
job.
back.
This brings
Manufacturers.
an interesting question.
What?
How many businesses does the United States government have to kill via legislation before, they get called out on it?
No, it's not even
It's not even
legislation.
calling them out.
Because
it's boots to ass is what it is. When is America going to stand up straight and stop being bent over and taking it up the ass from Washington? That's
Right.
what's happening. When are they going to finally... When is January 6th, a perceived insurrection, going to turn into an actual insurrection on a national level? When has America had enough?
The capital before in the 60s.
When has America had enough?
We
haven't had enough.
No, we haven't.
We haven't. And, let's get into the ghost guns and pistol brace argument, right? I've noticed that G was cataloging the fact that in the last 3 days before yesterday, so 4 days ago, for 3 days, all of a sudden, there was like 50,000 anti-gun comments put in there in 3 days. And then yesterday, another 20,000 in 1 day? Like,
I don't buy that.
I mean, unless anti-groups are pushing the same campaign like YouTube personalities are for on our side, saying, here's a link to the form letter, just click it and put that in there, right? I could believe it.
People aren't doing that.
I could believe it because the left, and you cannot deny this, the left organizes, mobilizes, bankrolls, and assembles better than we ever have. They do it better every time. They're more motivated.
Oh yeah, they're literally authoritarian, and
they're an army.
A lot faster.
They are an actual army. They have an intelligence network. They have a logistics network. They have the media behind them. They have everything they need to do what they're doing better than we can. So for them to say 50,000 plus 20,000 in 4 days, I believe it. I believe it absolutely. Because it's easier for them to do it because they have so much more media influence. It's easy for them to spread that message. To say, hey, here, just click this link and it'll fill it out for you. I could see that. I don't like it, but I can see it. Anyway, so Rare Breed's going to fight this. The question I have to ask is, don't you find it strange that they didn't go after Foztek's Echo Trigger? Or frankly, Franklin Armory's Binary Trigger?
Because they're not
possible.
Give it time. My answer is give it time. They're going to get to it eventually. They're going to try at least. So anyway, that's that. I just wanted to put it out there. If you didn't know, the ATF's overreaching their authority. Johnny B put out a video the other day, and he was like, what do you guys think? And I wrote this long reply, and I wish I cut and pasted and saved it for you guys. But I told him what I thought. And I'm like, I think that in the interest of shrinking government and the interest of saving the taxpayer money, what we ought to do is get rid of the ATF under the grounds of obsolete redundancy. Because the firearms and explosives can be handled by the FBI. Because the FBI handles the under review parts of background checks anyway. So it's just give them more work to do, because they're not doing anything anyway, so that you take firearms and explosives away from the ATF. And then alcohol and tobacco, whether taxes, tariffs, importation, or whatever, before the ATF, that was handled by the Bureau of Weights and Measures. So give it back to them. Now the ATF doesn't have a purpose anymore, which means you can get rid of an agency that the voting public have no recourse of removing through the ballot. They're not elected officials, and yet they're dictating policy that affects us, and we have no recourse. So get rid of them. Just get them out. End of story.
Like,
no
what
more
do you mean by
ATF.
elected? Like FBI director elected? I have no idea.
No, he's appointed, but he's appointed with congressional oversight and confirmed. But the thing at the ATF is
So not the ATF.
the head of the ATF is the same way. They nominate and appoint and confirm. David Chipman, so far, he's like the proverbial nuclear cockroach. He's been hit with 3 consecutive scandals, and yet they still keep trying to push him through. And everyone's like, "Are you fucking stupid? The longer you do this, the worse he gets. The worse we find out he is." And yet, no alternative.
Yeah.
I got an alternative. Get rid of the ATF. Or if you have to have them, make Vince Vaughn the head of the ATF.
Ugh.
Make James Woods the head of the ATF. Anyway, so there's that. Next story. I'm kind of going through these quick because we spent so much time with the other stuff earlier.
Okay.
Right.
So, next story is... Oh, I didn't notice Tony took off.
Yeah, Tony took off.
Former mayor... That's hard to say. Former mayor... Former mayor Michael Bloomberg is in the news again because he decided to cut a check for $3 million to Everytown for gun safety. So, Everytown for gun safety was present and pushing for the Remington capitulation payments, right? They were also involved along with the Giffords Foundation, pushing Mexico to go to a court in Massachusetts to sue Glock, Barrett, Smith & Wesson, and a plethora of other manufacturers. Now, knowing that they're not going to gain any legal traction there, they've created a program. Oh, I got to load up the page, huh? They loaded up this, and it's called Demand a Seat. And what it is they're going to train. Now, remember, these people are not professional teachers or trainers of anything. They're just angry people. You know, they're just normal people with anger issues and, I don't know, personality disorders. But they're trying to train volunteers in how to run for public office in 2022 to the tune of 200 or more seats available for local elections all across the country in conservative areas of the state. Right?
That's a good idea for them. Yeah.
Well, okay, so what we have been saying on our side for years is if you don't like the way things are, get off your ass and vote for somebody who follows your interests. This is how Lauren Boebert got into Congress. This is how Dan Crenshaw got into office, right? So they're doing that too. But you know what? They're the side who's better funded, with the media behind them, with a narrative freight train that's running out of control, right? They assemble, they organize, they educate, they bankroll, and they get shit done better than we can. This should scare the shit out of every gun owner in America right now. But you see that picture on the screen? Do you see how she looks?
Nope.
Oh, that's right. I got a screen share for you guys, huh? All right. Do you see that face? Okay. When I saw that, the rest of you'll have to check it back on the YouTube play or replay. Anyway, that face reminded me of something, and I couldn't put my finger on it. The first thing that I noticed is G-Webs was posting this woman's face for weeks, and I didn't know who she was. And I'm like, man.
That's Shannon Watts.
Yeah, I didn't know that at first. I just kept seeing this face, and I'm like, does he have a crush on her? Or is he trying to make satire of her? And then when I saw him superimpose her face on Che Guevara, I was like, oh, okay, I get it, right? But for some reason, there was another face, and I could not unsee it, right? And I'm going to share it with you.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to share it with you, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to do this. Let me put it back into here. I'll just share my OBS layout for you. So you can see this, right? Oh shit, I can't do it like that. Okay, so there's my layout. And there's the face. And what it reminded me of is this. It's the same face.
Not seeing a face.
It's the same face. If you're watching it on the YouTube side, you'll see exactly what I'm thinking of. But that's the face I see every time I see that one picture of Shannon Watts. She looks like a confused version of Scooby-Doo. Slightly crossed eyes, dumbfounded look on her face with a knobby nose. That's her. Shannon Watts is Scooby-Doo.
So you're saying she's a pothead?
No, she just looks like a dumb dog. So anyway.
I thought you were going to honestly go with the, how dare you?
No. Greta, I reserve Greta for other things. Anyway, sorry, I noticed I popped off the screen. That's why you didn't see it. But yeah, on the YouTube side, you probably saw it. Anyway. Yeah, demand a seat coming to a ballot near you in 2022. If you are in an area like I'm in, where chances are that's very likely, be sure to enroll fence sitters or other voters to actually turn up, because midterm elections is where the most damage is typically done by your opposition. Because, like I said, they're bankrolled better, they got the media behind them, they assemble better, they get shit done. It's time for us to prove that we can do it better. Because if we don't, then they're going to win. And if they win, then you lose. That's an insult to Scooby-Doo. You're damn right.
All over.
Anyway. Okay. So there's a website that I've been talking to you guys about for years. And the reason I'm going to share it with you today is because Chiraq has hit a milestone faster than it has ever done in their history. There's a website out there called HeyJackass.com, illustrating Chicago's fine values. And if you look at the right side of the screen, you will see that the total number of homicides for this year is 505 already.
For Chicago?
Just for Chicago. That's the fastest they've hit 500 in their history. Last year, I think the total number was like 6-something for the entire year. They've hit 505 by August 14th. Okay? What makes that significant? Number one, if you took that number and you plugged it up against the statistics of 2018, that one city has had more homicides in it than 38 combined states for the entirety of 2018. Who runs that city?
Wait, so you're saying that like Chicago had more murders than 38 states, or like 38 states combined?
They had more homicides to date, than 38 total states combined for a whole year. And that's kind of amazing. That's a sobering statistic.
Well, yeah,
but it's all the surrounding states' fault.
The majority of homicides are like concentrated in like fucking California and New York.
Yeah, it's apparently it's Indiana's fault. It's everybody's fault, but the mayor's.
But the mayor's, yeah.
Right.
She won't apologize to her.
No, she's too busy race baiting the media. And they don't call her out because then she'll say, You're attacking me because I'm LGBT. And it's like, no, I'm attacking you because you're a fucking moron. I'm attacking you because you look like the shrunken head doctor in the waiting room at the end of Beetlejuice. That's why I'm making fun of you. Quit looking like fucking Mrs. Magoo. Anyway. They should get some kind of reward. Yeah, they should. Anyway, heyjackass.com. If you ever want to see the statistics of Chicago's finest values, I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you can see this. The guy who runs this site is a genius because he lays out all the details, but he gives you very, very good statistics. Like this is, I think, King County, right? King or Cook County, I always forget. Tony always corrects me, but he's not here. So he breaks it down by the hour, by the minute, by the number of people. He highlights the homicide ones in red. He points out the fact that there is a shooting statistically every 1 hour and 56 minutes just in the state, or is in the city of Chicago. He narrows it down to the type of injury, where they got hit. Like, this guy knows his stuff. He actually does the work. He does the research. He breaks it down on the neighborhood level. He even had this thing, police-involved shootings, self-defense shootings, right? All the things that gun control people would harp on, he's already broken it down to debunk them in just this one city that's got a legacy of stupidity going on. He breaks it down by ethnicity. He breaks it down by gender. Did you notice there's only 2 genders on his list? Imagine that. He breaks it down to carjackings. I'm trying to find, there's one that I really love. I'm trying to find it here. Multi-victim, the average age, shot in the ass-o-meter, selfie-o-meter, negligent discharge in your leg or whatever. Shot in the junk-o-meter. 33 people are now either one or no bald eunuchs. 33! 33 acts of stupidity and negligence. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's 33 plus 19 plus 117. July had 35 people shot in the ass. Like, every one of those guys could have been casted in Band of Brothers, because you remember how many guys got shot in the ass in that? Yeah. Anyway, this is Chicago's finest values on display. He keeps all the police frequencies here so you can listen to them. And on real busy nights, if you're on his YouTube channel, he will broadcast it live on YouTube. You can listen to it in real time. And I'll tell you what, you lay in bed at 1 in the morning while he's playing that shit with your screen off, it's pretty haunting how much crap goes on in that city when the lights go out. Like, it's nuts.
Man, Chicago has more murders than Japan and Korea combined, which has a population of around 180 million people.
Yes.
Like,
that is a very large helicopter.
So, like, when, like, Asians tell you, oh, shit, America's dangerous, like, you're careful, like, don't go into the ghetto, like...
Anyway, I just thought y'all would find that kind of interesting. HeyJackass.com. I don't get a kickback or anything for promoting that site. I just love it. That's why I thought I'd share it with you.
Post the link in chat. Check that.
I just HeyJackass.com.
Okay, let me.
All right. My last story, I usually try to do something a little more uplifting or funny. Sorry, it's not uplifting this time. It is kind of funny, though. Did you all know, viewers and panelists, did you know COVID existed in the 12th century?
You not like?
Seriously, COVID-12. C, 12th century. COVID existed during the Renaissance, during medieval times. I can tell you're confused. So, in my part of Texas, we have a thing called the Texas Renaissance Festival. And the Texas Renaissance Festival is, it's kind of weird. Okay, so let me do this. Let me paint you a picture. You can drive 2 hours into the middle of the woods somewhere in eastern middle Texas, and you can walk around in the woods to a place that's been cleared out to look like an old medieval village, castle and village. And people dress up like kings and knights and serfs and peasants and everything. And every once in a while I'll rent an outfit and I'll go do it too, because I used to really enjoy that.
Yep.
There's 2 ways to enjoy the Renaissance Festival. You dress up and you try to have a good time, or you don't dress up, and you spend about $1,000 to have a good time. Because if you want to have the full experience, you got to buy and try everything. It costs about $1,000 a person to do that. So this is why it's kind of like a vacation type thing, right? And it goes on for, I think, almost a month. It's been a while since I've been, but Rachel on this server was married there. Like, she was married at the Renaissance Festival during the Renaissance Festival. It was really cool. Like, they were so happy to accommodate that. And it was neat. It was a themed wedding. It was really cool. Anyway, they're requiring COVID-19 vaccinations for all participants and employees. So those working the grounds. But visitors and season ticket holders? Nah, it's fine. So the people who work there have to be vaccinated. But the intake of hundreds of thousands, if not a couple million people, don't have to be. Did you find that a little odd? Because the visitor count outnumbers the staff count probably 1,000 to 1. Bit strange. So the caption I wrote for this story was, COVID didn't exist in the Renaissance. Shouldn't they all just be immune? Because they wasn't there, so they don't have it. I mean, I'm just using the government and the media's logic here, right? I had to screen share this because I got banned from the site for putting that as a comment in that story that you're looking at.
That's hilarious.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
They banned you for making a joke?
They suspended me for, I think it was 72 hours for a comment that violated their policy.
COVID.
No, well, yeah, because I politicized COVID, basically.
No,
and I called the media stupid. Well, I called the media stupid.
Well, the media is stupid.
It is. So anyway, it wasn't uplifting, but sure as hell was funny. COVID existed in the 12th century in New England. Or, sorry, in the Renaissance Festival. In medieval England.
No, it wasn't COVID. It was the bubonic plague, the Black Death.
No, because we don't have that today. It had to be COVID.
No, the Black Death was completely different.
Yeah, it had to be COVID because they're banging that drum. You just have to accept it because that's what the media keeps shoveling into your feed bags.
I refuse to accept someone's belittling of history.
I refuse your reality and substitute my own, says
I'm not
the media.
refusing. No,
says the media.
Looking at reality.
I know.
I'm looking at reality. Reality says it was the Black Plague. It was the bubonic plague.
Yes.
It was the plague.
Right, but I mean, what I'm saying is I'm just the media. Their god is Jamie Hyneman, or not Jamie Hyneman, Adam Savage. I refuse your reality and substitute my own. That is probably a quote engraved on a brass placard at the front door of every news outlet in the world. I reject your reality and substitute my own. That's on the door of CNN's studio. That's on the door of Bloomberg's everything. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they do. That's how they do it, and that's what they do. And that's what the cattle of this country feed on every day and believe it. Because if you're told a lie enough times, you're going to start to believe it.
Yeah, but if the lie is told many, many times to the point people believe it, it's not necessarily a lie. It's propaganda at that point.
I'm married to Kate Beckinsale. I'm married to Kate Beckinsale. I'm married to Kate Beckinsale. You're not buying it, are you? No.
No, you can't have that one.
No, see? Fine. I'm married to Billie Eilish. Now you're going to say I'm creepy because she's like half my age. Anyway, the point is, that's the news. That's what you were all waiting for. I'm sorry it was kind of abrupt, but we wasted so much time at the beginning of the show. Well, now we're at that segment where we talk about what are you doing for the rest of the weekend? And I'll go last.
I am boarding my plane, and I am probably going to like get COVID tested again and again. Like,
Thank you, San Francisco, for your human feces and hospitality, but I'm getting the hell out of here.
Bye-bye, America.
Right? Until next time.
Until next time.
What are y'all doing? Jump in.
I have to be doing something?
What are you going to do? Just sit in front of your monitor for the rest of the weekend?
I don't have anything else to do, yeah. I got everything done during the week. I'm pretty much good.
I know part of what Scott's doing today. He's going to go and see a Russian about a rifle. But anything else?
Cut resistant gloves and clean my new 1911.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you heard about that, right?
Yes. Congratulations, by the way.
I was not expecting to win. The fact that I did.
I wasn't expecting to win a Siamese Mauser. I wasn't. Oh shit! You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to check my auctions today.
I was playing the closed beta for Back for Blood, and then Travis gives me a phone call and says, "Hey, you know, you won the 1911." I'm like, "What?
Yeah,
really,
you bastard."
The most hilarious part, when I got the tracking for it, you know, it said it was going to get here on Friday the 13th, and I'm like,
nice.
Okay, that's one too many coincidences for me.
I like the look of that thing. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but the funniest thing happened. It came a day early, so then I just went and picked it up, and I'm like, well, it didn't come on Friday the 13th, but I'm not going to clean it on Friday the 13th because I might warrant another visit to the ER. So,
that's a good luck day for me because that's my birthday.
But I just thought it was just hilarious that all those three things lined up like that as they did. You know, it's like, oh my god, if I get the gun and zombies happen, I'm blaming that gun. You know?
Let's see, the rest of my weekend, Tony's gonna fix his mower, maybe actually cut the grass. He
the mower works. I just gotta get off my ass and go mow the grass as soon as it dries up enough that I'm not gonna slide down the fucking hill.
Yeah. Showed up just in time for the outros, by the way.
Yeah, good day, people.
My weekend includes, let's see, I'm still waiting for my shelving to show up. And then I'll probably post a picture in the gun pics later, which is down below all these channels here, so you can see my new setup for the reloading corner. I've got to film the 4th episode of The Long Dark because I haven't done it in 3 days because I had to play catch up. I do these in 5-episode chunks, so I had a lot of backtracking to do, and I didn't want to waste an episode on it, so I left it as a to be continued. Do that today. What else do I got to do today? I got to hang shelves. I got to wash dogs. I got to go shoot my Beaumont today, I think. I may go out and do that today, which would be cool. If you guys didn't know, I own a 7188 Dutch Beaumont, and I made the ammo for it 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's a video in my reloading bench playlist if you want to see how to hand load Dutch Beaumont, especially without $350 die sets from CH4D. I found a way. Anyway, that being said, I think what I will start to do is play this. And I will remind you all that we do this every Saturday between the hours of 10 to noon. I'd like to thank my panelists for being here. I'd like to thank the audience for watching. If you're not a member of my server, you can join with the link or the email address below. Just drop me an email and I'll write you back with a one-time code. You can also join this show if you'd like once you're a member here, so that's cool too. And if you know somebody who doesn't know about the show or my channel or my Discord, maybe let them know that I'm here. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next week. Later.
Mexican Space Program.
I will do that on the next show, I promise.